Today, I'm going to show you how to use reference tables to add business data to logs from retail endpoints, which might not have all the fields you're looking for. And later, I'll show you how to use those enriched logs to create a metric so you can more easily do data analysis, like aggregating purchase amounts from a register. To demonstrate this, I've set up a cloud function with a Python script that's simulating log data from point-of-sale systems. We can see these logs by limiting to the register service. POS systems tend to run old operating systems or proprietary services, or in some cases, we have to collect data from somewhere else and don't have the context we want. You might have sparse log data with just a register name and a purchase price. If you have this kind of data, it can be useful in that it tells you that there are sales going through on this register, but it doesn't tell us which store it is, where the store is, or how many registers are in that store. That's the additional information that's useful to know if you're trying to run a business. We can use a reference table to add context to our log data. Our reference table starts with a CSV file that has the data we need. In this example, I have a Google Sheet that we need to download as a CSV. So we go to File, then Download, then CSV. In Datadog, we go to Integrations, Reference Tables, and New Reference Table. In this example, I'm going to use an existing reference table. I called this one registers to because I had a previous iteration and the table names have to be unique. I've already uploaded the CSV that we grabbed earlier. And if I want to add context or indicate ownership, I can add that data here. Before we leave this page, I want to confirm that register is our primary key. The primary key is indicated by this key icon. This is going to be what we use to join this data to our logs. Then the next step is using the reference table to create a pipeline to parse my logs. My logs are coming in as JSON, so attributes are parsed automatically, and we can use the existing log fields without additional processing. To add our reference table data, I can create a new pipeline. I'll update the filter to show only our register data. I'll name it registers, then I'll save this pipeline. Now I'll create a processor under this pipeline. Using a reference table to add attributes is a lookup operation, so we're going to use a lookup processor. I'll name the pipeline Register Enrichment. I'll select Reference Table for my lookup mapping, and I should get a dropdown here that gives us the option to select one of our existing reference tables. It's going to automatically connect to the primary key, so I just need to tell the processor which source attribute matches the primary key. In this case, it's going to be registers. The target attribute path is where our new attributes are going to be stored. I'm going to say that I want to set the target path to register detail. Then I'm going to enable it. The next step is going to be confirming that data is coming in and showing our new attributes, which we can do here. We go to the Log Explorer and run a logs query with our service name as a filter. In the beginning, we saw that we had purchase amount, register, service, and log level, and now we have this whole register details dropdown. Now, in addition to basic sales data, we have the enrichment data accessible as attributes. Our log data has been enriched with store details, and we can do the kind of data analysis that's important to a business. I can group my data into fields, I can do things like take an average, and I can use these standard mathematical operators on my purchase amount. I'm going to say that I want the sum of my purchase amount by my register, which is going to be the first thing we group by. The aggregation on this page just helps us to get an idea of what our data look like. The second attribute I'm going to group by is one of the values from register detail. I'm going to add the store attribute so I can see that this register is in this store. We can take our analysis further by converting these logs to metrics, which has two additional benefits. Converting to metrics gives us 15 months of retention by default, rather than having to store some or all of our logs for longer than is necessary. The second benefit is consistency. Metrics queries return a set of points without having to worry about how to extract the data. In this example, it's easy to identify which logs have the data we want and how to work with those values. But in a more complex environment, it's harder to know which data you need and how to process it. There are a couple ways to convert logs to metrics, but the way that I prefer, and would argue is the easiest, is clicking the More button here and selecting Generate New Metric. Then you're going to be brought to this log configuration page. Here we can see that we're going to measure purchase amount, we're going to group by register, and we're going to group by register detail store. If I want to add other details from the lookup table, everything else would be prefaced by register_detail and identified by the column name in the CSV. I'm going to call this register sales, and each time a metric is created, I will be able to group by register and store. At this point, we have data coming in, so if I go to the metric summary page, I can see information about our metric. I can set this description to something that's useful for us. In this case, it's useful to know that this is store purchase data. This description is straightforward, but for some metrics, the mechanism or schema behind them is complicated, and it's helpful to put something here to remember how it all works. If we scroll down here, we can see which tags we have coming in. In our case, we're grouping by register and store. And if I click down here, I can see examples, and I can search for specific tags. If I want to see what the actual metric values are, I can click Open in Metrics Explorer, and then I can average by individual register, or I can aggregate by store. What we're really going to want to do is to save this to a dashboard. I can click this Save to Dashboard button. I can create a new dashboard, and when I click Save and Open, we'll be brought to our new dashboard. What might be useful is a table where we group by store detail and then group by register, so we can see what the average sales are per register with the store information. So that's how you can add business data to your logs. Namely, we added store details to logs from POS systems and used the additional data to create metrics so we can do data analysis. Hopefully you found this tip useful, and if you want to learn more or go deeper into this topic, I'll add docs and further useful resources to this video's description. Thanks for checking out this video.